We are joined by Peter Kuznick, professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Peter, welcome back to WION. What message do you think the U.S. is sending to Israel by halting the shipment of certain weapons? And how do you expect Israel to respond to this move given its current military operations in Gaza?
Biden is under enormous pressure right now from within his own party, as well as the protest movement. It's putting pressure on Biden to stop giving unfettered blanket support to Israel. Biden has made clear, as have other American officials, that there is no way to conduct this attack on Rafah without slaughtering hundreds and thousands of innocent civilians. And so they're trying to put pressure on Israel to not go ahead with this. But Israel is refusing to abide by what Biden is telling them. And so Biden made another step, which is a small step, more a symbolic step than a significant step, but at least it's doing something to show that he's listening and trying to put more pressure on the Netanyahu government to curb its planned invasion of Rafah. But the invasion has already begun on the outskirts of Rafah. And the effect that this is going to have, it's not a blanket cutoff of military aid to Israel by any means. These bombs that they're cutting off now, these 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs and the 500-pound bombs, have been used widely to destroy infrastructure, hospitals, universities, kill civilians in Israel. And so it's a small step, but the preponderance of U.S. aid to Israel, military aid, is continuing. So he's not going to satisfy the student protesters, and he's not going to satisfy the critics within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's remarkable that he's been able to turn off both sides of this conflict at this point, at least domestically. I found it interesting that Israeli officials said that negotiations about weapons should be held behind closed doors. Do you think the White House is leaking this information on purpose?
It's interesting that they started this policy of limiting the weapons supplies days before that information got out to the public. So uh, why they did not take advantage of this more quickly? There's a certain kind of blindness that I see in the administration and its messaging. Biden reaffirmed yesterday in his Holocaust Remembrance Day speech that his commitment to Israel is ironclad. This is an invasion that's being universally condemned as if not a genocide, very close to a genocide, and by all accounts, a slaughter and a humanitarian catastrophe. I don't know why Biden is so tone deaf, so slow to respond, so willing to give up his chances of reelection in order to placate those pro-Israel hawks within his own administration and inside his own head. Biden has been closely aligned with Israel for decades. When he was in the Senate, he got more money from the Israel lobby, from AIPAC, than any other senator. So this is not something new for Biden. But the fact that he's so blind to see the horrors that Israel is inflicting on the Palestinians, and that's not to downplay what Hamas did on October 7th. One of the mistakes that's being made in the U.S. media is to say that these demonstrations on the campuses are pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas. What they really are is anti-slaughter, anti-genocide. And I see here in Washington, D.C., all of the protesters congregated at George Washington University. And for weeks, the administration at George Washington University had asked the city police to come in and clear up the protests, but they refused to do so. And the mayor refused to support that appeal by George Washington's president. But now, last night, the police moved in and arrested dozens of protesters and broke up that peaceful encampment. So this is appalling what's going on in American universities. And I'm worried, I don't know how many of my own students were arrested or beaten by the police last night.
All right, Peter Kuznick, thank you so much for that analysis and your insight. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon as we follow this story very closely. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.